Hi, I'm Novelette Witt with Morgen Real Estate. Today we're honored to have two lovely ladies from Orange Coast Title, Joanne Galin and Tracey Culley-Rojas. Hi ladies, thanks for being here.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
What is title insurance?
We want to show true ownership of the property.
Okay, so imagine, so when we're explaining it, imagine what is car insurance, because that we'll start with that. That's the simple thing that everybody knows about. What is car insurance? It insures the owner of the car that if they have an accident that they will have certain coverages. The same goes for title insurance, except for it's relating specifically to the title of not a car, but a house or a piece of land. So the title itself, the ownership, if there are any liens against the property, we're insuring the owner. We're issuing an owner's policy for clear title. No one else owns the property. Nobody else has a lien against the property.
No, there's no judgments against the property, no child support. Yeah.
IRS, state lien, that those have been cleared before a new buyer acquires the property. The title to the property has been reviewed, and either we disclose anything that we see and the buyer takes subject to it, or if it's a seller issue like a lien, then it would get paid at the close of the transaction.
Let's say I am purchasing a home for my mother or a neighbor, for example. Do I really need to get title insurance? I mean, I know the history of the house already, so is it really necessary?
Absolutely, you do. You always want to be able to have some kind of proof that you are the owner of that home.
Right, so a lender won't lend to you unless there's been clean title. They want insurance. They want to know that they're in first position. If you were to go to sell, we would have to go back to the last insurance and go forward. So every transfer that takes place, if it's not insured, like a gift from a parent to a child or between family and friends or what have you, those uninsured transactions, no one's verified the validity or accuracy of those transfers. So title insurance does that. We go back to the last insurance point and we check the validity, the accuracy for every transfer that takes place, including we're looking for forgery as well and fraud. So if you get a transfer of title from a parent, let's say, to you, we would ask that they participate, whoever came off title. In order for you to sell, they'd have to state, yes, they really did give as a gift and they really have no interest, because then your next buyer will want that verified. So you take potentially any liens against your mom, whether it's judgments, state liens, IRS liens. When you acquire the property, you acquire her creditors as well. So if they've recorded their liens, creditors, then they attach to the property. So you might want to have now title insurance is for bona fide purchases and for loan transactions. So gift deeds between family and friends, we're not going to be insuring. Typically, there are certain circumstances where we may consider it. But title insurance, very specifically for a buyer, is because they don't want to take subject to other people's liens, previous owners, and they want to make sure they get 100% of the property rather than a portion if a previous owner's missed. So it's required in California that the seller provide to the buyer clean title, and that the buyer provide to their lender clear title as well, and so they know they're in first position. So ideally, that's why you get title insurance, so you know that you're not inheriting problems with the property.
So how am I ensured that I won't have someone come in years from now having claim to my property? How is your company ensuring that?
Right, so we are a title insurance company. We are governed by the Department of Insurance, and we actually issue a policy written on paper that includes language insuring you. And it states that it is in effect as long as you own the property. So the policy itself is what you would want to keep and provide to others. Policy and title companies in California are considered to be reliable and a reliable source of information in general. So I think that's the answer. You're looking for a policy.
And our company has done its due diligence in checking and clearing this. they do a lot of research and really dig into it and find out who owns this property, what is against this property. So it's really important to be with a good, secure, financially stable, reliable company.
So what does it cost me to get title insurance?
The cost for that is depending on the liability for that. Like any other insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, it's based on the value. So if our liability is $1 million because the sale is $1 million because the home is valued at $1 million, then our policy fee would be one thing. If it's half of that, $500,000 sale, then the liability is less for us. It's $500,000, and therefore our fees for that are less. Like if you insured a Maserati versus, a 30-year-old Honda, it's a different value. If you can imagine the difference that the value might be for those two things, then of course your fees that you're going to pay for that are going to be very different. So same thing, it's based on liability, like most insurance companies.
What's the duration for title insurance once I purchase it?
For title insurance, you are insured as long as you own the property. So as long as you stay on title, you don't deed off. If you deed off and you come back on, you've terminated your insurance if you ever deed off, even if you come on later. So as long as you own the property, you're insured. And so you pay one time, or the seller pays for the buyer one time, and then they could own the property for 40, 50 years and never have to pay another premium. It's just paid for them when they purchase by the seller. There's never another fee, no monthly fees, and they could have it for decades.
What's the worst could happen if I don't have title insurance?
So a lender, when they lend to somebody, to a buyer, they want to know that they're going to be in first position, that there isn't a previous deed of trust, a previous loan that could foreclose them out of their interest in the property. They want to know that they're the senior lender, and so they will require a title policy to be issued to them in order to lend. So it's very important to a lender that they be in first position, and the way that they know that is a policy gets issued to them and it doesn't reflect any other senior liens. And remember, again, if a deed of trust is 15 years old, if it's still an open deed of trust and a new lender comes later to lend in second position because it records later, the first lender can foreclose out that new lender. They could actually lose their interest altogether in the property, the second lender being junior. So it's very important to them.
Thanks, ladies, for being here and giving us some great insights as to what is title insurance.
You're welcome.